Hello, my name is the Doctor. You're watching Hadley. Reverse the polarity.
I've loved Primeval since I was a little kid, and I was very pleasantly surprised to find out upon coming back to it as an adult that it holds up pretty well. The show started its initial 3-season run in 2007, but was cancelled in 2009 due to budgetary concerns, only to then later be brought back in 2011 for 2 more seasons under a different creative team. And to most people, that's it. Most fans of the show don't even know that in 2012 the show got a spin-off made for Canadian TV called Primeval New World. Unfortunately, that one only ran for 1 season, and I'd be hard pushed to say anything truly bad about it, but I can also kind of understand why. So that's 6 seasons in total, then. But prehistoric creatures appearing anywhere at random in the modern day. I stand by, it is a waste of potential just sitting on a license like that. With no future for the license on the horizon, fans are forced to just keep going back to what we already have. But what if I told you there was more Primeval than you immediately thought? An obvious limitation that comes with a show like this is the budget. But a platform that suffers from no such restriction is that of the written variety. Yes, following the tracks of all great sci-fi shows before it, Primeval had a little-known series of novels published. It consisted of 4 entries: Shadow of the Jaguar, The Lost Island, Extinction Event, and Fire and Water, published during the show's 3rd season on air, but taking place continuity-wise all over the timeline. They also had re-releases with variant covers during the promotional material for Series 4. If I had to give them short reviews... Book review! Shadow of the Jaguar was the first of these, written by Steven Savell, known for his work on Big Finish Doctor Who short story range. Slotting in neatly between the 3rd and 4th episodes of the show's 2nd season, we see the team fly off to Peru to deal with reports of the ancient god Pacuacamqua is back and living among us. Obviously, we know that isn't quite the case, but what does end up being revealed as the source of the attacks is not worth spoiling for you. This sidles along with a Bond-esque espionage plot, as one of the creature's surviving victims turns out to be the son of a controversial political figure in British economy. So, while the art crew is having to deal with the mystery surrounding Pacuacamqua, they also have human antagonists wanting to kidnap the surviving son for political gain. This one was the hardest one for me to get into as a child. It has the lowest amount of creature variety out of all the stories and a very human-centric plot. And it also seemed to be written at a slightly higher reading level than the others. And if that's your preference, the more adult-orientated political thriller story and less on the creature feature, then this one is for you. And that was just my impression reading it as a kid. After going back to it now as an adult, I found it's just as readable as the others. Probably as harsh of a critique as I would give it is, don't read this one as your first one, probably save it until later on. It's good, but it's just probably not the one you want to start on. As a tiny, I would have given it maybe a 2 out of 5, but now I can appreciate it for what it is as a more mature adult, it's a 5 out of 5. I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park, so I'm sure it surprises no one that the next novel, The Lost Island by acclaimed fantasy author Paul Kearney, is probably my favourite. Following on immediately from the events of Shadow of the Jaguar, this story, as you can imagine, deals with a small landmass off the coast of Ireland becoming ground zero to a full spaghetti junction of anomalies, and the island itself being infested with creatures from all sorts of conflicting time ranges. A great thing about Primeval was their ability to combine the danger of these creatures with the real-life social issues that would naturally arise trying to keep it all secret, and actually managing to make you care about both plots. Shadow of the Jaguar did this, and so does this, as the island in question was a former British Army base, but control of it is now being fought over by Ireland and France, meaning that for all intents and purposes, any mission there would be illegal for the British government. And so it plays out like a cross between The Lost World and Indiana Jones. Just add on that wet, miserable aesthetic of the Irish Sea, and you have a formula that cannot possibly go wrong. And I would probably say that this is the most horror-orientated of all the books. This really drops the art crew out of their element and at the mercy of not just the beasts around them, but the elements themselves. For that reason, as well as it being a lower reading level for younger audiences, it's my favourite as a kid, and upon rereading it, I agree, another 5 out of 5. And on God, that scene with the Eurotyrannus in the fog is the stuff of nightmares. Next, we have Extinction Event, and I don't really consider it spoilers because it's literally on the front cover, but it is so good to finally see the ARC team go up against the actual OG herself, the Tyrannosaurus. No, that one doesn't count because it was rubbish. This is back again to being targeted towards an older reading audience, but as a kid I remember understanding what was going on in this one better than Shadow of the Jaguar, so maybe it just doesn't go as hard as that did. Dan Enbit of Warhammer and Marvel fame is responsible for this entry. Set between series 2 and 3, we have the story taking the show's plot of anomalies and prehistoric creatures being the source of many myths and cryptids and running with it, this time tackling the infamous Russian folklore Baba Yaga. What it also does is put a fictional spin on the real-life Tunguska event, which... History lesson, an unexplained phenomena happened in the Russian wilderness in 1908. What actually happened, no one knows, just that an explosion with the force of a 15 megaton TNT, which is about 1,000 times stronger than the Hiroshima bomb, happened and no one really knows why. Now in the modern day, it's been classified as a meteorite impact, even though we never found a crater, and in this story it is addressed in the best possible way. Anyone with a love of the Russian culture, conspiracy theories, cryptids, or just the show in general needs to give this one a look. I'm a huge lore buff, so it makes sense that despite being a bit more difficult to get through initially, I am marking this one as another 5 out of 5. Last but certainly not least is Fire and Water by Simon Guerra, who is again known for working on Big Finish's Doctor Who range. Taking place between the 5th and 6th episodes of the show's 3rd season, half of our plot takes us to Africa, with Danny and Lester dealing with a mystery predator loose in a local wildlife preserve, while the other half has Connor and Abby dealing with a pair of Dinosuchus in the flooded streets of London. The previous stories usually have 2 separate plots going on and intersecting with each other. This one really takes that to the max. To explain any more of this plot would be to spoil it, but just know that fans of dinosaurs will be very happy with this one. And there you briefly have it. If I had to give my personal recommendations, it would probably be books 2 and 3. The Lost Island and Extinction Event, respectively. Not that these two are objectively better than the others, but I was able to read them a lot easier as a kid, and they also showed off more of what I personally wanted from the franchise. So I imagine that that would extend into them being accessible for a new crowd. Each of these novels do something that the show cannot. All of these deal with stories that would have been simply too big to tell on television. All of them feature the main ARC crew travelling across the world, featuring a full plethora of creatures and having big spectacle showdowns. All of them deal with anomalies opening overseas, an aspect which is kind of always just ignored in the main show. And Extinction Event and Fire and Water even get to have the majority of their story take place on the other side of the anomaly. And The Lost Island, as name probably dictates, has an island entirely infested with creatures from the past. These are stories you just can't do on a television budget, and though I hate to say it, they end up working better than the show does at times. And look, even if the show did have the budget, relegating any of these stories to just a 40-minute episode would be a huge waste. These overarching expensive plots are what we would have gotten if that Primeval movie ever went through. More info on that, check out my iceberg. Interesting little note as well, supposedly, in Cutter's anomaly map that he's building in Series 3, the prop actually contains the name of a creature that is only featured in the book series and not in the show. So... canon? I hope so, because all of these are Primeval at their best, undeterred by costly creature effects or actor schedules, just quality storytelling and fanboy moments to the core. These 4 titles are absolute godsends for any fan, and they really deserve to be picked up. My understanding is they run for pretty cheap on Amazon and eBay, and, as I say, I doubt anything else is being done with the license anytime soon, so unfortunately for the time being, they may be fans' only way of getting more content for the characters they love. Maybe if the books can get a surge of popularity, it can reignite a love for the series that, at a bare minimum, maybe could get us a continuation of the novels. Though I don't like the cast of the last seasons as much, I certainly wouldn't be against some expanded universe material to tie up loose ends there. Give us a book about Danny travelling through time, an origin story for Matt or Gideon, or hell, just continue the plot of the show. For the meantime though, these are begging for an audio adaptation. Andrew Lee Potts doesn't seem like he's doing anything these days. He would jump at the chance to record these for Audible, I'm sure. Which brings us onto this video's sponsor. Not really, but Audible, respond to my emails. Okay? Please. If you've read these books, can you let me know what you think about them? Honestly, I swear I'm the only one who knows about them, and even the people that do know about them, no one seems to have read them, so... And if you enjoyed this strange delve into niche media, please do consider dropping a like, a subscribe, the usual YouTuber nonsense. If you want to see more of me, I'm active on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to see me making a fool out of myself for the validation of strangers, my TikTok is also a thing. Hope you enjoyed this video, and even if you haven't, I hope you have just found it just the least bit interesting. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Oya ga neta kara nan de mo yaritai hodai yo Nani wo shiyou Yonaka ja tomodachi neteru shi Terebi mo sude ni suna arashi So